My name is TEDxWyandotte, Tran. I'm a preacher's kid and the son of butchers. I'm a storyteller. I was born in the shadow of Saigon and raised in the cattle country of southwestern Kansas. I'm equal parts sea salt and wheat fields. I'm going to tell you a few stories today, the first of which starts with my family. My family, my mother, my father, my sister, and I came to America with the clothes on our backs and $20 that a missionary gave to us, and we built from there. Now, all my life, my family has told me to tell our story, but I told them no, I can't, not yet. Now, it wasn't until November 2007 when I went back to Vietnam for the very first time with the four of us, my mom, my dad, my sis, and I, and got to see my homeland. And I remember walking through the streets of Saigon with my father, and he pointed out a street mechanic, someone roughly my age, and he said, for no better reason than his parents made a different decision than your parents. That could be you. That taught me empathy. Then I met a girl at the bakery. Last month, my parents told me, pack your things and get ready. We're gonna take you home. I took a flight across the sea to see the man that I might be in my land of birth, my father country. Sweet Saigon, well maybe we were wrong, but let us in, lead us on. The plane touched down and I was calm. Each tree could have been California palm, but everyone around looked just like me, A pretty girl at the bakery, she laughed and said that I spoke funny as she handed me my sweets, oh my sweets. I smiled back but my tongue was heavy, thick and slow, coconut and honey. And already I wanna go home. Sweet Saigon, well maybe I was wrong, but let me in, lead me on. Now every day she'd be there, my Miss Saigon with the blackest hair, and a bag of sweets waiting for me. And she'd ask me, brother, please, what's it like across the sea? And is there a chance you could take me with you? Take me with you. I'm not naive that this is love, but there's no telling what we could make of it. All I need is a chance, There's nothing to keep me here anymore. Take me in, make me yours. Take me in, make me yours. Take me in, make me yours. Now I went home the very next day to my green-eyed love where she'd been waiting. Sister, please understand that I'm sorry, oh I'm sorry. And I don't know who owes who, but I wish the very best for you. Every day at the bakery, Sweet Saigon, Everything is wrong, and it's a sin that you're gone. Oh, it's a sin that you're gone. Oh, it's a sin that you're gone. That's my story about the girl at the bakery. Her story so moved me, and I thought to myself, has she ever had an opportunity to tell her story? Like my mother, the master storyteller herself, whom I learned from. And yet, she came over here to America with broken English, and she couldn't have a platform like this to tell her story. And I remember she came to me when I was younger, and she said, "It's you. You're the one. You have to tell our story. You have to write our memoir." And I said, "Mom, I'm 15 years old. I can't do that. I'll screw it up." But I put a pin in her request, and I moved forward in life, and I scribbled it down bit by bit, a song at a time, a poem at a time, a scene at a time. And I forged ahead as a performer. But I had this feeling inside of me that I just wanted to be American. I wanted to be all American. I didn't want to be an Asian American performer. I just wanted to be seen on my own merits. I didn't want to be in Miss Saigon, I wanted to be in productions because I was a good actor, not because they needed to fill an ethnic role. But ironically, it was a production of Miss Saigon that opened my eyes. It was opening night, and our director, his father-in-law, had served in the Vietnam War, an American GI, and he suffered from PTSD, and like many men who went over there, never spoke about it. Stoic, silent, never talked about the war. And that day, opening night, he sent a text to his son, my director, and my director said that he said, "The fact that that young man, me, is doing so well made my time over there worth it." And I thought to myself, how many opportunities had I passed up because I ran away from my own stories, about telling these stories? If something is as seemingly frivolous as a big musical can be, it still connects. It crosses through that emotional barrier between sympathy and empathy. It's really living in someone else's shoes, understanding what that's like, understanding what it's like to be a mother, a father, a sister, or a brother. And so I wrote a musical performance memoir about my family's journey called The Butcher's Son. It chronicles my family's escape from Vietnam, our imprisonment by the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia, and ultimately our resettlement in Garden City, Kansas. But in addition to telling a exciting story or spinning a captivating yarn or a harrowing tale, I wanted to examine how families tell each other stories. How we can all just sit down at the dinner table and pass these stories back and forth, and mom will interject and say, no, you're getting it wrong. It went like this. I wanted to make that connection with the audience members. And so it was such a great joy for me to see audience members walk out and say, "That's my family. That was my grandfather. That was my grandmother. Different ethnicity, different generation, different war, but they came to this country for the same reasons." And they saw not Vietnamese people up on stage or a Vietnamese story being told. They saw the story of their own families reflected back at them. I remember another audience member, good old boy from Texas, a good friend of mine. He said, "You know what? I remember my dad taking me on hunting trips like that. You got it. That's what it felt like to go hunting with your dad." And I also remembered sitting with him in hospice like you did with your dad. And that's what losing a father feels like. That's what losing your daddy feels like. And we can all relate to that. I had other audience members say, "Yeah, my older sister was my guardian. She looked out for me. My mother sacrificed so that I might have a better life." And I think that it's that important distinction, that empathy that comes with telling our stories and listening to each other's stories, that we can truly break through whatever barriers that we might have. And I feel that in myself as well. How many times have I walked by people, whose stories might be just like mine, but we don't notice them because they're background. They're the periphery. They're just a backdrop to our daily lives. how many faces in newspaper photos, how many names in history textbooks that we just gloss over because we're not willing to explore deeper into that story. So thank you for letting me share my stories today with you. I've got one more just to demonstrate the empathetic power of storytelling and breaking through those barriers and hopefully inviting you into my family today. I think it's because of storytelling that we can become better leaders, better advocates for the causes that we believe in, better neighbors. So one last story about an all-American woman, my mother, and her butcher's son. She found herself a man of means who'd help her raise a family. But there was no way they could see that the war would change everything. But they picked up and chased their dreams. Yeah, they knew they'd find that American dream. Found themselves in a foreign place with nothing left to their names. Never thought they'd see the day they would find to their shame that their boy would be a butcher's son, that their boy would only be a butcher's son. The chills, the sweat, the Vietnam vets. He worked his saw like a bayonet. She cleaned her knives and tried to forget. Everything was red and wet. But they did it for their butcher's son. Yeah, they did it for their butcher's son. Con trai của tôi, con trai của tôi. Past his bedtime, but she can see below his door, flashlight beams. He reads the books that she can't read. This is how it's meant to be. She whispers, ngủ ngon, con trai của tôi. Ngủ ngon, con trai của tôi. She whispers, ngủ ngon, con trai của tôi. Ngủ ngon, con trai của tôi. She whispers sweet dreams to her butcher's son. Sweet dreams to the butcher's son.